Hey everyone, before we get started with the podcast today, I wanted to tell you about a little addiction that I have, which is putting on mastermind events for marketers all over the world. In 2022, we did it in Victoria, British Columbia, down at the marina on the coast, where we brought together about 50 amazing marketers and entrepreneurs together for 2 days of masterminding and elite experiences and all sorts of fun stuff. We went to Las Vegas last year and had an absolutely epic event. And this year, September 18th and 19th, we're returning to our roots and inviting DTC listeners from around the world to join us in Victoria, British Columbia for 2 days of an absolutely incredible experience. We're bringing together some speakers from the past and a lot of new ones, including Andrew Wilkinson, international business icon from Tiny. We've got Nick Shackelford to tell us all about his Breeze story, as well as Kevin Gould from Glamnetic about his $50 million year and what's come after that, as well as Brock Mamoser from Frost Buddy. Really excited about his talk on TikTok Shops and how he's grown to a $30 million brand. This event is all about helping brand owners in our audiences get from where they are today to where they want to go, whether that's from 7 figures to 8 figures to 9 or beyond. We're going to have the people at this event. We're going to have the content at this event. And we're going to have the experiences at this event that lock in these concepts for you. Best case in point is one of our speakers, Drew Archeolo, who's coming from Victory Gear, who came to our event in 2022, took a notebook full of notes on all of the talks and all the connections that he made, went out and turned Victory Gear from a middling, unprofitable 7-figure brand to a profitable $20 million powerhouse just 2 years later. Obviously, there were a lot of reasons for that, but he definitely credits what he learned at C-Suite Mastermind as a big part of this. So if you want to replicate that experience, you can go to events.directtoconsumer.co. We only have 50 seats available. We have it's about halfway filled already just from being 2 weeks of being launched. So don't wait. This is a major FOMO event. You don't want to miss out on it. We're going to do a few previews in the coming weeks of some of the speakers. We're not going to give away too much because we want you to come to Victoria and have this amazing experience with us. I hope you can make it, and on with the show.
With TikTok Shop, it's crazy what they're doing on the platform right now with all these subsidized discounts. We set a slash through price and then joined all like the campaigns. So they'll do like summer campaigns, like spring sales, and then they just push your organic reach like crazy. We did a little discount, we did the spring sale, and then I started posting videos about just like, hey, now's your chance to get the best sunglasses on the market, 20% off, not including the subsidized discount with TikTok as well. So it's kind of like a golden era right now where they're pretty much giving away free money. It just started like snowballing because they were incentivizing people and the engagement was good, the conversions were good. And so in TikTok's eyes, they're like, okay, we want to see success stories like you. So we're going to like prioritize, your product if it's selling. Their algorithm is so sophisticated and smart to be able to know that. And if they see sales rolling through, it just starts snowballing.
Wondering what 100 influencers talking about your brand could do to your bottom line? Meet Sorrel, the influencer platform that brands are using to get a 5 to 7x median ROAS on their influencer spend. As ad costs rise, it's time to build robust marketing moats with authentic creator partnerships. Sorrel automates and simplifies the entire process from finding influencers to contacting them, shipping products, and turning them into affiliates. Sorrel's G2 rating is 4.8, and the brands are loving their customer happiness team that will help you set things up from scratch even if you have no experience with influencers. Ready for a simpler, more effective approach to influencer marketing? DTC Podcast listeners enjoy a special offer. Double the trial length for free at no annual commitment. Start today at getsorrel.com/champion/DTC-newsletter. Parker, welcome to the DTC Podcast, man. We usually do a pre-interview and we started to get into it and we're just like, no, let's just rip it and do this thing live. You were telling me about your hero's journey with Kiaura Eyewear.
Yeah. So I played high school football and always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And when football season ended, I was like, what am I going to get into? So I started a clothing brand that was actually called Kiaura back in the day. I was selling t-shirts out of the back of my car, designing stuff. I've always been passionate about design and just coming out and being a business person as well. And so I started that and it was fun. We started doing pretty well, doing photo shoots, going all the 9 yards and posting on Instagram when Instagram was super new. So we got a ton of organic reach at the time. Then I got into college and kind of lost passion for the business and, focused on partying and having an experience in college. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this college thing and focus on this, get my degree. But halfway through, ended up dropping out and getting into real estate because I love architecture and wanted to, figure out how I could get into that world. Long story short, that didn't work out either. So I went back to school. And then 2 years later, when COVID hit, I was, sitting in my room. I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? And so I thought I loved the time of running Kiaura in high school. And so I said, I want to start it back up, but I don't want to do a clothing brand. I want to do something that's a little less saturated and kind of has more opportunity and has more room for like design and creativity. And so I started with sunglasses, and I kind of entered into it naively, not thinking, okay, what are the margins? What are all these like KPIs that you need to hit to be successful with a brand? But, luckily the margins are good on sunglasses, and it allowed me to grow the brand. And so what happened was when I started it back up, I ordered about like $10,000 worth of inventory, and I sat on it for probably an entire year, not knowing how to sell anything. I just ordered it, designed sunglasses, and I'm like, okay, cool, I have a sunglass brand, but no revenue. And so I'm sitting there trying to think, okay, I'm going in debt every month from this. And during this time, I was working as a project manager for a construction company. And then I ended up leaving that job and becoming a home inspector. And so during the day, I'd be inspecting homes and working on, crawling through attics and all this stuff. And then it allowed me to have some freedom to work on the business when I got home. So I'd inspect 2 homes a day, and it would take me like 4 or 5 hours. And then I had the rest of the day to work on the business. And so I was just skating by enough to pay rent and feed myself, and everything else would go back into the business. And so I did that for about a year. And then I was really just like, okay, I need to figure this out, because I ordered another batch of inventory of better quality sunglasses and wanted to just elevate the brand. And so at this point, I'm like 30 to 40,000 in debt, and I have no way of selling these sunglasses. And I'm like, what's going to happen? And so I started reaching out to people, and I'm like, okay, who's successful and who's already, doing super well on the internet selling products. And so I knew I didn't have the budget to be able to run ads profitably, and I tried, and it didn't really work that well. And so I reached out to, he was 17, or I think he was like 15 at the time, and he was running a clothing
child
brand.
labor, bro.
No, but he owned the company.
Okay, fair.
And so I reached out to him because he was consistently going viral. And I'm like, dude, how are you going viral? Like, what's the code? Like, what's the secret? And so he's like, dude, you just got to like target your niche and like call out the perfect avatar for your brand. And like, and so I started making videos because our sunglasses are inspired after architecture. And so I was like, if you love mid-century modern architecture, then you'll love these sunglasses. And so it hones in on that right person, so you know that they're interested in your type of product. And it was like a unique twist into an industry that didn't really have that approach. And so I asked him, and he's like, dude, just post 10 to 15 videos a day, and one of them will go viral after a month or two. And so I kept going, and for the first 2 months, didn't have anything go viral. But I'm like, I can't afford to stop. So I'm sitting in debt right now, and I'm gonna regret if I don't work my ass off on this. And
a bunch of inventory.
And a ton of inventory. Like my whole garage was full. Yeah. And so I'm sitting there just like, oh my God, like, all right, let's figure this out. Posting like 10 to 15 a day. Started getting a little bit of success. I'm like, oh, this one got 10,000 views. Okay, this one got this. And then we posted a video that ended up getting like 3 million views in 2 weeks, and sold through all the inventory. It completely in 2 weeks sold out.
Wow.
Went from 0 to 100 super quick. I think we did around 70,000 in 2 weeks. And
who needs attribution?
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's just
our conversion rate was so low because the quality of traffic was so low, but the amount of volume was just nuts.
What was the hook on that one?
It was the Ford versus Ferrari. So I said I created the sunglasses inspired by the Ford versus Ferrari movie. And so I loved that movie and always looked at like the sunglasses that Matt Damon was wearing. And I'm like, damn, those are cool. And so I kind of got inspired after that and created a pair of sunglasses that I thought were going to be like an elevated version. But much cheaper than the ones that were actually in the movie. And it hit and went crazy and just sold out the entire store from there. Like we had to open up pre-orders because lead times are like 3 months. And people were completely fine with waiting 3 months for, sunglasses, and because they're just so stoked on this new brand and this new concept and idea, founder focused, authentic approach. And so we ended up, getting a ton of pre-order orders, and able to, hire a team, start bringing in media buyers, email marketing agencies and all these people to kind of support me and allow me to scale the brand. And from there, it's just been steady growth and, keeping an eye on all the KPIs and making sure that we're hitting our numbers and trying to scale up, keep inventory in stock. And that's our biggest constraint right now, is keeping things in stock. It's been tough, but it's a good problem.
I want to talk TikTok shops, I think, because you guys are doing a lot on TikTok shops. Is that right? But I got to go back. I got to go back to football to fashion. It just, even this concept of, I've known people that have started eyewear companies, but a lot of times it's been, you're getting off Alibaba, or you're just you're essentially like a glorified shopping mall kiosk. But you were like right away into this concept of design. You just talk that process of like your first sunglasses designs and when you say sunglass design, what do you actually mean?
Yeah. So with design, I always want to take inspiration from like other creatives. So in the sense of like, I think the creative mind can translate really well from other mediums. And so like, I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to design buildings and look at like, okay, my favorite architects like John Lautner, Joseph Eichler, and all these other different people that I represent the sunglasses after. I look at their design style and I'm like, okay, what went through their head to create like the roof this certain way? Or why are they using board form concrete right here? And so I looked at sunglasses and I'm like, okay, there's different features within sunglasses. And so there's like the shape of the frame. And so you have this shape in like the form, and then you also have the temple here. And so you can have designs inside of the temple. And so I also, created this little signature right here. But I looked at all the different features of this and I'm like, okay, there's different features within a house. You have the flooring, you have, the walls, the siding, the type of roof they use. And so I looked at every little piece of the sunglasses and I'm like, okay, how can I just make everything as unique as possible? And so it comes down to like the color. And I love the vintage vibe. And so I wanted to come up with something that kind of had that vintage aesthetic to it. So for example, these right here are a new style we're coming out with, but I wanted to look at the inside of the sunglasses, which is called the metal pin right here. And so we've updated this since showing you these. I'm trying to see if I have them laying around right here, but a lot of brands are just like, oh, you know what? That's a metal pin. It has functionality. It keeps like the shape intact. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I get creative even further with it? And so we, custom design the little metal pin and just always focus on the smallest details and then changing features as well. So functionality and style has always been a big concept of mine. And same with a house. Like there's a lot of homes that are extremely beautiful, but they're not functional. They're not enjoyable to be in. They almost look like a museum. Mm-hmm. But the best homes, the best architecturally designed and interior designed homes are ones that are beautiful, but also really comfortable. So like,
and ones that suit the surrounding area as well, exactly. Right? Which is your face, right? Like falling water looks like falling water, and you want to get sunglasses that do that for your face.
Exactly. And so we wanted to come out with like universal styles that kind of fit everybody's facial features. Mm-hmm. And like the Lautner, these are our best sellers. And I still yet to find somebody that looks bad in these.
Yeah.
They're just super clean, not overly crazy or anything. And so they're like everyone's favorite, like daily wearers,
I'm going to have to get a pair. I had some translucent, like champagne colored, like light colored frames on sunglasses. I've since lost them, but like got a lot of compliments on that. But I bet you're always looking in culture for like the next iconic sunglass moment as well, right? Like the Ford versus Ferrari, like any, sunglasses are a big part of cinema and culture. So you're probably always on the lookout for like the next big trends. What are the trends right now, like overall in the sunglass space?
I see this vintage timeless classic being a huge, something that's going to go on forever. Like it's timeless, but like the old money aesthetic has become stronger than ever. And it wasn't that predominant like 2 years ago. And I've always loved old movies and always loved old music. I'm like, I tell myself I have an old soul because I just love that nostalgic era. And so when I listen to music, like America and like Sister Golden Hair and all those songs, it just kind of brings me into a vibe. And I'm like, okay, looking at old photos of like Slim Aarons, the photographer from the 60s, and he's taking photos of all these like the elites back in the 60s, and they have the coolest style and just this like vibe to them. And so I started posting those as well about 2 years ago, and it went super viral. And then this like old money trend started picking up, and like all these brands are coming out with like button downs and that quiet luxury kind of feel. And so I think there is luck involved with that, just, hitting it at the right time. But that's just what I love. And I've loved that since I was a young kid. And, it all just kind of like right place, right time.
And I I remember looking at the Burberry brand redo, and they went from a very minimalist approach to a more maximalist approach, which is probably great for accessory makers because it gives you, if there's a more maximalist approach to fashion, it gives you a bigger palette to work with.
100%. I love their redesign. Like they went from that like simple black and white sans serif, I think it is, logo, to this just gaudy guy on the horse, and it's badass. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I love seeing that. Like, it's just classic, it's sophisticated, and it goes back to the roots, And I think that goes back to like what we spoke about briefly is like authenticity and bringing people back to the core,
So when it comes to making your organic social videos, is it you ripping these videos each time? Do you have a team that does that, or are you're the founder-led story behind it?
Yeah, so I'm 100% the founder-led. I post all the TikToks. That's just me. And the whole focus of like when I scaled the brand and continue to scale it is like buy back my time so I can focus on what I do best, which is creating content, creating the experience for people, bringing them into a new world, which is Kiaura, and we're creating this like fun little utopia within the sunglass industry. And so my job is creating content and designing sunglasses. Other than that, like I'll have team meetings with everybody to make sure we're hitting our KPIs and we're all in check. But for the most part, like I think the biggest thing for brands to scale is like, how can you remove yourself as the founder, bring in experts that are better than you, and then focus on what you do best and not have to rely on like, hey, I'm designing emails today. It's like, no, my time can be better used on something else and bring the experts in for that.
Let's talk TikTok shops a little bit here. So I think because you're working with Pilot House, I reached out and said, do we know anyone who's absolutely crushing on TikTok shops? You guys came up because I think we even wrote something in the newsletter a little bit about it before, about how, you were finding that it was working better than driving to Shopify or anything else. Talk about that and how that's rolled out.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy what they're doing on the platform right now with all these subsidized discounts. And like, what really happened when everything went crazy is we ended up setting a discount so you can do a slash through price. And so we set a slash through price and then joined all like the campaigns. So they'll do like summer campaigns, like spring sales, and then they just push your organic reach like crazy. And so we set that and then joined the spring sale, and they always have different sales going. But we did a little discount, and then we did the spring sale, and then I started posting videos about just like, hey, now's your chance to get the best sunglasses on the market for 20% off, and that's not including the subsidized discount with TikTok as well. So it's kind of like a golden era right now where they're pretty much giving away free money. And so people just look at these deals they're getting, and obviously you have to have the product be enticing at the beginning and problem solving and all that. But the combination of everything with the discounts has created a huge splash. So, and that includes like all the TikTok shop ads. We've nailed that and definitely done a good job at cycling content, creating new content constantly because the testing phases are so much faster. Everything fatigues quicker. But yeah, we went viral again. And it just started like snowballing because they were incentivizing like people, and the engagement was good. The conversions were good. And so in TikTok's eyes, they're like, okay, we want to see success stories like you. So we're going to like prioritize, your product if it's selling. And that's what it does. Is like their algorithm is so sophisticated and smart to be able to know that. And if they see sales rolling through, it just starts snowballing.
Ride that train.
Exactly. And just double down on it.
Yeah.
My big thing too is I want to focus on having a healthy acquisition channel throughout the whole brand. I don't want to just like, okay, TikTok shop's working, so let's not look at Meta anymore and just like double down on this. It's like, okay, let's try to grow these together so the whole ship is, rising together. Because who knows if TikTok shop goes away or they change the discount structure and things like that. So you always got to think.
They won't pay out forever, but I was hearing someone just talk about like versus Amazon. TikTok is one of the only platforms that's like making headway on being an alternative to, Amazon eventually. If every individual person has their store on there. Talk to me about what it looks like right now in terms of your growth mix. Like I imagine because you're having, like, are you having similar success in terms of views and sales on Instagram and Meta as you are on TikTok, or is TikTok the prime channel?
So we're spend wise, we're about half and half. So it's like 50-50. We're spending the same amount, but the efficiency on TikTok is just much higher. And so like our ROAS on TikTok is like anywhere between a 4 and 7. And it's just bonkers. And so like our constraint right now is just keeping inventory in stock, but Facebook is still an amazing acquisition channel, and it's something we're spending a lot of money in, but our ROAS just isn't as high. But the quality of leads are much higher. You know, you're getting their emails every time they go to the website, and so you can retarget them that way. And so it keeps like the full funnel in a good, healthy area. So we're definitely not just like putting Meta on the back burners. Like it's still just as prioritized, but we just may not be as efficient in the current state.
Is it mainly men or women? Like who is your customer? I guess you were saying it's really those people who have that. It's funny. I just bought a mid-century modern kitchen table and chairs, and so I'm getting hammered with a bunch of MCM stuff. So that's interesting. That's really who it is. It's a millennial essentially, or a Gen Z.
Yeah, it's definitely a millennial. I think it's at the 25 to 35-year-old male. Anyone in that demographic, and leading with like me as like the founder, I've just been talking like I'm no one special. Like I was a home inspector, and I'm just talking to people and saying like, this is my story. This is what I do. And I love designing sunglasses, and they just so happen to, people like them. But, just the authenticity. And I think people connect with me through that way of approaching the brand has just been super beneficial.
This is just a wild idea, but like I like Kiaura as a brand name, but your name is such a good eyewear name as well. Like eventually if you ever launch like a, Parker Godfrey collection or whatever, like that's like, it already has Parker, like Warby Parker. It's got God. I just feel like it's a really strong, especially for like the classic vibe too. It's a very classic sounding name.
Definitely. I mean, I came up with the name Kiaura when I was in high school, and I was like all into meditating and everything. And what ki is chi, your inner energy. But ki is chi in Japanese. And so I like always loved Japanese culture, and then aura is your outer energy. So inner and outer energy. And I just like the name, and honestly, it just kind of happened and snowballed. And I'm like, okay, I can't change the name now, but
no, but you can be the face as Parker.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where do you want to go with it? What are your growth goals look like for 2024 and beyond? Yeah,
we've seen a lot more growth than we expected. And so we thought we were going to grow at about 100%, and we're on track to grow at like 250% this year. And so I'm like, okay, let's just, double down. But, it's one of those things where I did talk to some venture capitalist companies, and they're like, hey, we start investing in companies when they're doing about $1 million in profit per year. And so, but they're like, realistically, you don't need us. Like, just, it's not a bad lifestyle to grow the brand in 5-10 years to 25 to 50 million and be making a couple million in yourself. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just do that. So I don't know if I'll sell it, if I'll keep it, expand into different product categories, maybe get into like cut and sew fashion, like nice button downs that go with the sunglasses and things like that, jewelry. So it's just an evolution. Yeah.
Do you know Meller? Do you know Meller Eyewear?
I do. Yeah. I think they're a European brand.
They're a European brand. It's funny. I did an event in 2017, 2018. And Chris Erthel is the founder of the brand. He came and spoke in this Barcelona event. He was probably the best speaker I've ever seen at one of these events. So maybe I'll try to I'm still friends with him. I'll try to make that introduction, because I bet you guys could share a lot.
No, totally. I'd love that. It'd be super cool. I always love connecting with people, even if they're in the same industry too. I don't care. It's like everyone.
Well, it's European in a way, right? Like you're probably more focused. That's a question, I guess. You're probably more focused on the US market right now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, definitely. I think the market's huge. Things are working. And so we're going to double down here. There's plenty of room for growth. Even if you have less than 1% of the market share for the sunglass industry, like you're doing really well. So
are you doing much with influencers? What's your strategy with influencers?
So currently we have an affiliate program on TikTok shop, and that's another way of brands really growing, is if you product seed the right people, and it is a volume game. We're not really focusing on like one-off influencers and like, budgeting a couple $1,000 a month for them and everything. But we do a lot of product seeding, and that seems to be like starting to work. It's one of those things that takes time, and we started it 2 months ago. But with TikTok shop, everything's shoppable. It's a shoppable feed now. And so like if you can do enough volume to affiliates and they're posting videos and just one of them goes viral, you have another viral moment like we've had in the past where sales go crazy. So the biggest thing is like just kind of trying to flood people's feed as much as possible. So when it comes time for them to buy a pair of sunglasses, you're the one right in front of them. And it's completely free except for product cost. But yeah, you're not paying Zuck for acquisition.
Zuck boys. One of the things that I've heard the Zuck boys, or I guess no, I'm thinking of Sean Frank talking about TikTok and how it's a great platform, but it just doesn't have the scale that you see with Meta. I guess that's why your efficiency is so much higher on TikTok than it is on Meta. But how are you finding the scale? Are you scaling as much as you want? Are you running into limitations in terms of scale on TikTok?
Yeah, I think TikTok's very tricky because some products work on Meta really well. Then you try to open it up on TikTok and it just doesn't work. And like it's such a nuanced platform where people just it's almost, I don't know how to explain it. It's just very unique. And so like you'll have some type of products that are super weird. Like it'll be like a protein brownie and it just goes crazy on TikTok Shop, but it won't sell on Meta. But for us, I think TikTok's just in such a small, like young phase that they're really prioritizing brands that can be successful. And if you do kind of find yourself in that position, they're really strict on like violations. So if you don't ship your product out within 1 or 2 days, like they're going to ding you and then like you're not going to get as much reach and they're not going to prioritize your brand. But if you are in good standing and, people are engaging with you and you're keeping people on the platform, I think the algorithm is going to be incentivizing you to grow. I know there's some brands that are doing millions a month on TikTok Shop. And in that regard, we're still very small, but they see the potential in us. And so they just want people to be successful on the platform because they do want to take market share from Amazon and Facebook and try to be the new e-commerce way of buying anything online. And so if you just, stay in good standing with them, post consistently, have a good product, that's really the biggest thing. It comes down to product at the end of the day.
Yeah. You guys have a great product, and you were saying that you picked a good product too, versus something like apparel where it's higher ticket, it's easier to ship. There's only one size, which I guess is a huge part of it in the apparel space. Built to scale up.
Totally.
How about Google? What's going on the Google side? You guys just are you aggressive there? Are you just brand bidding? What does it look like on Google?
We do a lot of brand bidding and then we're doing some acquisition stuff. We're not seeing the most amazing results right now. It's just, I think an election year makes things tough too, because the PPCs just go up so much. So we're profitable. We're spending probably a fourth of what we're spending on those other platforms. So it's not like a main acquisition channel unless we crack YouTube ads and stuff like that, which we're working on right now. But for the most part, we look at Google as kind of our cleanup hitter. It's a way to stay in front of people. And if they're searching for us, we're going to be there. But yeah, I mean, we're working on it. If we can figure out another acquisition source, that'd be amazing.
How big's your team now?
So I have nobody on W-2. Everybody's 1099.
Okay.
And working with agencies and people that are experts at what they do. I don't have to train somebody and just bring them in when they're already really good. We have probably about 12 to 15 people actively working on the brand throughout everything from, fulfillment to marketing.
There's something you mentioned you're profitable, obviously, with a team built like that and the sales that you guys are generating at the ROAS you're generating. And I know you're a driven founder, but like, what are some of the ways that your life has gotten like a lot better because you've got a profitable D2C brand? Yeah.
So, I mean, D2C, like an e-commerce brand, from the very start, I said, okay, what's an avenue that gives me freedom in life? And D2C, you see all these drop shippers online. They're like, oh, I just bought a Lambo. It's like, I don't buy cars like that. I don't really care for stuff like that. But traveling, I love to travel and I love to be able to go wherever I want, whenever I want. Like, for example, yesterday, I just got back from a camping trip. It was Monday to Tuesday and I had no cell service, but I let the team know like, hey, I'm going to be off the grid. Like if there's anything that comes up, you're on an island for 2 days, but I trust the team and everyone's so good that they're like, we'll hold down the ship while you're gone. You're all good. So like the ability to do that and also be like, hey, I'm going to go to Costa Rica for a week. And as long as I have cell service, I'm good. So like at the beginning of this year, I was in Japan for 5 days, and then I was in Bali for 25. And so I did a month abroad in January, and nothing, we were still growing, everything was getting done. Orders were getting shipped out. I jump on calls in the middle of the night and just catch up with the team. That's like, it's a dream come true. It's been a dream of mine since I was in high school and starting my clothing brand out of the car. I'm like, this is the life I want. And so it's come true, which is just insane.
Well done. And you get to make your team members and stuff that you're bringing into the mission, you're helping fulfill the aspects of their lives as well.
Totally.
It's an awesome thing to be a part of. And all the while you're building this incredible asset as well. While you're having this fun, you have this freedom, and then you'll look up in 5-10 years and who knows what kind of asset you'll have, which is unreal.
Exactly. It's like, it's appreciating asset, it's a compounding asset. And that's the other thing is I never want to get into something where you're starting at square one every month, and so as you build, things just get more valuable over time and numbers get bigger. It's funny because I was talking to someone yesterday and I look at my triple whale, I look at everything, and all I'm really doing is looking at numbers on a computer and making data-driven decisions. And I'm like, okay, if this like CPA is too high, what's the like lever that we can pull to lower the CPA? Okay, we need to change our content. Okay, why is our content not working? Okay, change the hook, change the headline, change this and that. And then you start seeing CPAs lower, or you reach out to affiliates and brings it down. So there's so many little things that's just what I love, is connecting all the dots and then seeing the numbers get bigger, but the answers are still the same, or the questions are the same, the answers are the same, the numbers just start getting bigger and bigger.
And you're not in the weeds if you don't have to be. You can do it from that position of that executive decision making, which is easier on the nerves. But you can dive down. I bet you can. I bet you do. I bet you are. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I'm in the trenches with the team. Like every day if things are going wrong, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. And then
you're the content too, right? So
yeah. I'm the message. I'm the broadcast, to the world. And so like my message, what comes through my head and what I portrayed it to, the market is kind of how we figure out how people respond. And so that's kind of my forte, is like the messaging and angles, product design, and just being the creator focused brand.
How did you think about pricing? Is a question, because I think with eyewear, it's like you're not selling something. The value is perceived based on the style and the design and everything. How did you come about at your price point with your eyewear?
Yeah, so I looked at like what other brands are doing, and you do have these brands that are selling for $350 and they have the same features as me. And I'm like, why? Okay. And so I wanted to add to those features. And so like some sunglasses will be really expensive. They have, insane lenses and stuff, but they don't use like spring hinges that like snap in and snap open like that. And they just get loose over time and they're all wonky. So I wanted to add every feature you possibly could have in a nice pair of sunglasses, like to have the ability to like bend them and have them be durable. I looked at all like the negative reviews of these $300 pairs of sunglasses and looked at all the pain points. And so I found like, okay, the springs are the hinges are getting loose and I don't like that. The lenses are scratching. And so when I came down to it, I was like, I could sell these for $300 if I wanted to, but the key is sell a $300 to $500 product for $120 and it'll be a no brainer for people. And so that also allows me to have the margin to acquire customers, which is the game. That is e-commerce, so I fell into that pricing. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah. In TikTok shops, you'd be a lot more in a consideration phase. You want things that are under that consideration phase where it's just like, ooh, that'll be good.
And the other thing too, yeah, is when you price things higher, people value them more. And so like if it's a $50 pair of sunglasses, they're not going to care if they're at a festival and you drop them on the ground. They're like, oh, whatever, I'll just buy another pair. But they are like, you feel the weight of them and you're like, okay, wow, this is a nice pair of sunglasses. And you want people to value your product. And so the perceived value, pricing things a little bit higher, they then have an association to the product and feel better about it. They feel better about themselves when they wear it. And just all the features and materials correspond with what the pricing is.
Well, I can't wait to follow your journey. If people want to keep up with you, where do you recommend they do it?
Yeah, so go to TikTok and find us at Kiaura_Eyewear. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's Kiaura Eyewear. And if you want to follow me, I'm posting YouTube videos on my personal YouTube account, which you can find through Instagram And my username is Master Pooks, which has been my
Nice.
nickname, Pook, when I was a little kid. They called me a little baby Pookie, but everyone kind of stuck and called me Pooks, and so that's my nickname.
Where'd the master come from? Is that Halo?
I, I was I was like 14 years old when I started my Instagram, and I'm like, Master Pooks. Yeah. All
You
right,
are a
cool.
master at 14. I think you're not a mister yet. You are a master up until 16. So I think that's just being accurate.
Yeah. So I just stuck with it. It's been there for ever since, when I made that name, everyone's, at school would be like, Master Pooks. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, can't change it now.
Nice. All right. Well, maybe we'll see you out at the Mastermind. And otherwise, good luck out there.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll definitely chat soon.